Hi, I'm Colin Wayman. My pronouns are they, them, and this is my final What I'm Proud of this Pride Month video. In some ways, I think today is the most important one. It feels the most important to me. I want to talk about my values, and I want to talk about one specific value, which is intersectionality. Because as a white person who came out in the late teens, the process of coming to learn my own identity as a queer person, as a trans person, was actually really deeply intertwined with my understanding of American history and of social justice. And so I feel like at this moment in time, it would be really against my values to not, if I'm making videos, to not include a video where I make it clear that I am pro-Palestinian, pro-black, pro-indigenous, against capitalism, against imperialism, and against white supremacy. And we can't talk about queer and trans pride without talking about black and brown liberation as well, because they are deeply entangled, right? The Stonewall riots were started by Marsha P. Johnson, a black trans woman. So like, just that's a fun little tidbit we like to throw out because these things are related. The same people who would have me harmed for my identity, for stating loudly and clearly that I'm not a man and that I reject patriarchy and masculinity, are the same people that believe that black people have less value and that the genocide in Palestine is somehow justified. They're not. Those things are wrong. And I think it's really important to make it clear that my identity, like all identities, is political. I'm not a trans and queer person who's white and doesn't get involved in other stuff. It's really important to me as a descendant of the Mayflower, as a descendant of Governor William Bradford of the Mayflower. Yes, I have the fucking lineage charts to prove it. To be actively working against what I understand the culture of my ancestors to be. I am descended from people who colonized the land, stole people from Africa, stole land, and just destroyed the environment here. And I'm not proud of that past. But I am proud of the power that I have today to do things differently and to try to build a different world than the one that was left for me or the one that was sort of expected of me from white culture. So what sort of things can you do? What can you do? It's such a big, terrible world. There's so much oppression. How can you really actively, as one person, move against it? Well, I think the most concrete things that we can do as white people is give money to black people and indigenous people and support any sort of liberation efforts with our money, whether it's our own or fundraising from the people we know that have money. And one thing that I did that I want to talk about, the specific example today that I'm going to use that I'm very proud of, is inheritance. So my grandma, the grandma whose mother went through the lineage charts and proved that we are descended from Governor William Bradford, she passed in December, and that was very sad. I love her very much. I miss her. She also left me a small inheritance, or I don't know what people think is small or large. It was $32,000, which is much more than I expected. I knew she left me something. I thought it'd be like $5,000 or something. And because of how I feel about the history of my people, because of how I feel about capitalism, because of how I understand that inherited wealth actually works, right? This wealth was built on the accumulation of value of other people's labor, stolen from them, put in the stock market, gained value, and then passed on to people. And that was happening maybe more actively in some generations than others, but to accept that money uncritically, to say that's mine, would really be to just sort of reassert that the way things are, the status quo of extracting money from marginalized people and claiming it's ours is okay. And I'm not okay with that. And I'm very fortunate. I want to be super clear. I don't think anyone, if you're receiving an inheritance and you need it to live, if your basic necessities aren't met, if you need housing and shelter and medication and education, I'm not saying that you should give away your money. But I'm stable. My family is stable. I'm very grateful for our financial stability. And $32,000, we would have put it in our savings. It would have been a big chunk. Maybe we would have put it towards something, but like it wasn't going to change the quality of our life day to day. And it would have felt yucky, it would have felt icky to say that's mine, I should have this. So I distributed it to people in my community, and I got rid of it right away before it gained any interest. And this felt very powerful because I also was taking money out of the stock market. Like there was like Amazon stocks in there, and I was like, no, ew, I don't want to be profiting from Amazon, that's disgusting. Also, yeah, we don't really have any money invested in anything because I just think it's gross. So if you are a white person and you're receiving inherited wealth, and you do not need that money to meet your basic needs, consider finding a local organization, a local group that's organizing, and finding a way to give it back right away. Show people that you don't believe that you're entitled to the fruits of other people's labor, because that's what I understand a vast majority of white inherited wealth to be. So that's the end of my what I'm proud of this Pride Month. But I did want to include this one about intersectionality, because we really can't talk about queer and trans liberation without talking about liberation for all of us. None of us is free till all of us is free. I could talk about this so much more and so many other things, but thanks to everyone who's watched. Maybe I'll make more videos sometime in the future, maybe not. Happy Pride.